Hi Facebook. Alright, so tonight we're going to be talking about immune health. So that covers a lot of range in our health system. So it can be anywhere from like a flu virus, bacterial infection, mono, ear infections, all of that sort of stuff. So if most of you guys know me here, so my name's Emily. I'm a practitioner here at Thrive, and my goal is to help as many people as I can naturally and holistically, and to help them feel their best. And when I came in, I struggled with some different immune challenges. So when I was younger, like in 8th grade, I got mono, and as we know, mono kind of sticks around with you for a while, for the long haul. So I actually came in with lumps under my armpits, and as a girl, you know, that's not the most easy taken thing. You kind of get a little freaked out. But it turned out through nutrition response testing, I found out that it was actually a virus going on, and that I was able to handle that through the supplements I was given, and the lumps disappeared. So that was nice to know, and I was able to tell that through the muscle testing and everything. So first, I'm going to start off doing a demo with Bree, okay? So come on up, Bree. So we're going to demonstrate for Facebook peeps. You guys know what we do. What we do here and how it works. So we do muscle testing, and when Bree's standing here, she's not under any stress. So when I push on her arm, she should be able to hold it up just fine, and she can, so that's good. If she was coming in and had some sort of sickness, and let's just say she was suffering really bad from a cough or something, so I go and I do a body scan and I check her lungs. If her lungs were an issue, when I push on her arm would go weak. And if it was something else, like let's say it wasn't her lungs, I touch her lungs and they're fine, they're gonna stay nice and strong. So what I do is I'm pinpointing where the area is that's actually suffering from what's going on, and then I'm gonna take these whole food based supplements and I'm gonna help that area heal and have better energy. So if this is the thing that's going to help Bree's lungs, maybe hold it with that hand, and then I push on her arm and touch that area, it will stay nice and strong. But if it's the thing that's not going to help her, then I push on this area, her arm's gonna go weak because that's not the right supplement for that area. So all the supplements here are all whole food based, so they're all good in terms of good, but what's happening is it's not what her body needs specifically. So we're looking for specific individual nutrition. Then the way that the body's reading these things is through different electricities. So my body has electricity, your body has electricity. You know, the supplements that we use have electricity and energy around them. So that's how the body's able to tell what it needs, what it doesn't need. So with my body's electricity, I'm going to light up this little tube here. So that lights up because of me touching both ends. So the way my body's able to talk to Bree's body is by the same thing. Go ahead and make a flat hand, and I can touch her palm and light it up because we're able to talk to each other's electricities like that. Fun stuff. Alright, thank you, good job. Alright, so on the board here, I have a little triangle that we use for our lectures because it's very reliable and relatable, and we're able to kind of tell shifts in different things that are happening. So at the top we have immune challenges, and like I talked about, that could be anything from an ear infection to a UTI. All of those things can happen. Then we have organ dysfunction and nutritional deficiencies. So when we have nutritional deficiencies, an organ or an area is going to dysfunction, and then we're going to have things like immune challenges. So let's say we're deficient in vitamin C. That's a big one when it comes to immune challenges. Something's going to end up dysfunctioning, and something that's already residing in our body more than likely is going to thrive off of that and wreak havoc and cause the immune challenge. So if you already have bad gut health and you're eating a ton of sugar, so you're going to be nutritionally deficient, then your stomach's going to dysfunction. You may throw up, you may have diarrhea, something like that, a flu bug. You're going to get that immune challenge. If you're doing good with your nutrition, you're going to have less organ dysfunction and you're going to have fewer immune challenges. So it goes both ways. All three corners are directly related to each other. All right, so when your body isn't able to get what you need from food, it does start to dysfunction, and nutrition can help you fight disease, or it can help you provide the disease with what it needs to thrive. So you got to think of it that way. You're either feeding yourself or you're feeding the disease that's going on in you. So the immune system is a huge part of your body. So we have our immune system spread throughout the whole body, but it also mainly lies within our gut. So our gut is about 80% of our immune system, and a lot of people don't know that, but that's why it's so important that what you feed yourself also takes care of your immunity. So the first thing that we'll talk about here that really hurts the immune system the most that would be sugar. And if you come here, you know that. So we all need to work on sugar. I do, you guys do, everybody does. That's okay, we're all in relation with that. So like I said, it feeds the illness that's going on because sugar actually depletes nutrients as soon as it enters the mouth. So it just zaps anything good that you're getting. Especially when it comes to vitamin C, sugar actually can imitate vitamin C, and your white blood cells need vitamin C to go. So your white blood cells are in charge of basically eating the bad immune challenges that are in our body. When they're not provided vitamin C, they actually think that glucose, which is sugar broken down, is vitamin C, and they start to eat that, and then they don't do their job properly, and they start dysfunctioning, and then the immune challenges wreak havoc. So what happens is those bacteria, those viral challenges, they kind of take over and you get your symptoms. So when consuming sugar, it decreases the ability to fight things off. And any simple sugars will do this. So even things like honey and maple syrup can do this. So I really recommend, if you're feeling under the weather, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to avoid any sugars, period. Even fruit sugar would be a good thing to avoid, at least for a short amount of time until you start feeling better. A big thing that is linked with immune challenges too is stress. So I know it's really hard to avoid stress in our everyday lives. We're busy and going all the time. But stress is really bad for your immune system, and it's directly linked to your stress levels, your immune system being lowered. So when we stress, our hormones get pumped out into our body. And those hormones include things like cortisol, so that's a stress hormone. And they're pumped out into our body to handle that situation. So you have something called your fight or flight part of your nervous system, and that's the part of your nervous system that responds to stress. So you have something come up at work and it needs to be taken care of right then. You know, that's the part of your body that's responding to that fight or flight. You're driving down the road and you have to swerve out of the way really quick because somebody's driving like a crazy person. Then that's that fight or flight response that's responding to that. So we do need that response. It's just we don't want that all the time, you know, that hormonal response all the time. And a lot of us are under so much stress during our day that that's what's happening. That cortisol is getting poured out into our bodies much more longer than we want it to be. So what happens is that since the body thinks it's in that stressful situation, what's going on is it basically suppresses the immune system because it's kind of like a tier thing. Your body's more wanting to take care of the fact that there's something maybe life or death going on, which was happening with our ancestors, you know. So when our ancestors were out, you know, trying to kill animals for food and hunt and all that, they didn't care how good their immune system was if a tiger is chasing them. They're trying to get out of the way of the tiger, you know. So what's going on there is when your body is in that fight or flight state, it's not worried about if you have a cough or a fever. What's worried about is what that stress is going on and what's causing that cortisol release. So that can really put a damper on our immune system, obviously, if we're suppressing it with the stress. And that can lead to things like inflammation. So excess cortisol leads to inflammation, and inflammation is the root of all disease. So we want to reduce that inflammation as much as we can, and therefore trying to reduce our stress levels is a great idea. And then also it reduces white blood cells counts, and it chances you have a higher chance of getting infection as well. So it affects the nervous system or the immune system in two ways. So one, like I said, stress creates chronic inflammation, and then also it suppresses the immune cells needed to fight the infection. So those white blood cells, it suppresses those. So basically when you're stressed, the last thing the body's worried about is regulating your immune system at all. Then we're going to talk a little bit about antibiotics. So antibiotics are not great for minor situations. So you go to the doctor and you have an ear infection, you really don't need an antibiotic to handle that. We help people out with that stuff all the time, and antibiotics in the long run, they do more harm than they do good. So in the short term, it might be nice to kind of get relief from what's going on, but in the long term, what they're doing is they're actually destroying all the natural bacteria in your gut, and they're kind of letting the bad bugs take over eventually. So then you have more chronic things going on. And then also things like antibacterial soaps are a big thing that people don't think about, but they're putting on their skin. So when you're putting antibacterial things on your body, you're getting rid of good and bad bugs, and that's what our body's made up of, good and bad bugs. We just want to be able to defend off the bad bugs a little better than the good bugs. Obviously, we want to keep those around. So when we do the antibacterial soaps or the bleaches, things like that, we're killing off all the good and bad bugs, and the baddest, strongest ones survive. So we don't want that, because then they're going to be able to take over because the good bugs are dead. So you're defending, your immune system is, defense is down. Then we also have things like, especially with school starting, things like hand sanitizers are becoming more and more popular to use. Kids are out, they're all germy, and so people are putting hand sanitizer on the kids. Again, it's going to be antibacterial, and it's going to kill all the good and the bad. So things like, we have a Thieves hand sanitizer here that's really great. That's not going to kill those good bugs that we do need to actually function, have a healthy immune system. Then we can talk about, too, the so-called flu seasons coming up. So, because bugs are really smart, and they know that there's a season, right? I'm being serious. Like, what the heck? They're not that smart. All right, so flu season's coming up, and people will usually tend to get their flu vaccinations. Just facts about it: the flu vaccine can actually give you the flu, and it isn't proven to work in any way. So do your research before you go and get your flu vaccine. Look into it yourself and see what's out there. It doesn't actually prevent the flu at all, so do what you need to do to look through that. And then also, we have helped many people get through the flu season without getting the flu, and that's including teachers. So we know teachers are around some of the worst bugs of them all, because they have little children that are just swarming with them. And we have multiple teachers that come in and are on a program, and they get checked regularly, and they have dealt with things like ear infections, pink eye, mono, flu, stomach bugs, and they didn't get touched all winter because we were helping them keep their body nice and stable, and able to help their immune system be able to fight that stuff off. So there's definitely no need to put some harmful chemicals and metals in our bodies to hopefully not get the flu. All right, so now that we kind of talked about the things that suppress the immune system, a couple other things I guess we talk about are chemicals and metals. So chemicals and metals are another huge stressor that come up here. So they're going to be things that are put on our food, and that are put on our bodies, again, like we talked about. So I'll add up here since I was slacking. And if it's something that anyone, like if you have to get the flu vaccine for where you work or what you do for a living, it's something that if you do have to get it and you come here, we can kind of help with the adverse effects of that flu vaccine. So I think that one of the number one ingredients in the flu vaccine is aluminum. And we all eat bowls of aluminum for breakfast, so that's good. No, not good. So we want to avoid things like chemicals and metals. So chemicals are another thing that can suppress our immune system, and those can come from our environment. So they can come from things like pesticides that we breathe in that get sprayed on things, pesticides that get put on our food that we eat. They can include things like beauty products, personal care products, things like laundry detergents, dryer sheets are really toxic. So all of those things can be suppressing to your immune system. Things like plastics. So if you're eating from plasticware, a good easy swap to make for your health is to eat out of glassware. It's a lot safer for your body, and it's also better for the environment too. So it's kind of a twofer. Then we have things like metals. So metals are on things again, like they're in different sprays that are put on crops. Again, aluminum is a big one. Metals in our mouth. So if you've ever had fillings, that's another thing to think about. They're probably mercury fillings unless you've gotten them taken care of. So that's another thing that can really suppress the immune system, especially since it's sitting in your mouth 24/7, and those can leak. So that's another thing that can suppress the immune system. I'm trying to think of other specific metals that are big. Just a lot of air pollution we breathe in has some metals in it. So basically it's inevitable to you gotta breathe. So it's inevitable to kind of avoid them. But the goal is that your body is more well equipped when you're on a program and your nutrition is in check. Your body's more well equipped to actually handling that and handling the stress of chemicals and metals and different food challenges that come up. And then things with chemicals we could talk about on the body. We already talked about like antibacterial, but things like fragrances are a big one. So we want to make sure we're not being too fragrancy with things that we're putting on our body. That includes things like deodorants, sprays, lotions, because those can have really harmful chemicals in them that are suppressing to the immune system, to the hormone system, all of that. So we want to make sure we're not disturbing our body with that, because the skin absorbs that and it goes right into our bloodstream. Another thing that we want to make sure we're avoiding with food is going to be GMOs, which is going to disturb the gut and therefore hurt your immune system. So GMOs are genetically modified organisms. So they're made in a lab, and they're constructed. They have like a synthetic bacteria in them that it is what the GMO is made out of, and then the crop is made. So synthetic bacteria kind of relates to antibiotics. So that bad bacteria is going to come in and it's going to do its thing from the GMO, and it's going to kill the good bugs that we're trying to manifest and we're trying to keep alive, that good flora. Things like MSG, which is added to a lot of food. And why it's added to a lot of food, MSG, is because it actually is addicting to the body. So when there's things like, people are like, oh, I'm addicted to McDonald's or something, that's because there's actually things in it that are making you addicted. That's why. You're not crazy. It's the same thing with sugar. Sugar stimulates your brain in an addictive way. It dumps out these addictive hormones, so that's why you're having these feelings towards that food and you want it over and over again. And it also leaves you feeling hungry afterwards still. So that's another thing MSG can do. Okay, those are the avoids. So we'll talk about the good stuff now. Alright, so for our good list, we got lots of good stuff. So I kind of already talked about it, but a really good one during this time of year is some thieves. So thieves is a blend of oils, includes clove and things like that, so it smells really nice, and it's immune boosting. So another thing about this time of year too I want to mention before I forget is the reason why immune challenges wreak havoc during this time is actually because of things like Halloween to Christmas. So if you take a step back and look at the season, we start off, Halloween comes around the corner and that's all about candy. Please hand out other things than candy, Facebook people. So it starts with candy and it ends with Christmas / New Year. and people just have every excuse to just keep eating more and more sweets. And I get it, it's family time and this and that, but as you know, if you come here, we have alternatives for things. We have alternative cookie recipes, brownie recipes, pie recipes. We have a great pumpkin pie recipe that's really delicious. But everyone uses that time of year as an excuse to eat bad, and then therefore that's why we have so many immune challenges coming up during that time. So we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. It's kind of, you're getting double whammy there. Thieves is a great way to help prevent some of those immune challenges on top of avoiding sugars and whatnot. So thieves, you can diffuse it in a diffuser in your home. This is really great for parents who have kids going back to school. So if you have a diffuser in your home, just letting out the scent throughout the day, that's going to help them breathe it in. It's going to help the whole house stay nice and clean. You can use thieves to clean with. So you can get a glass bottle, a spray bottle, and you can fill it up with water, and then do about 20 drops of thieves. And you can do like some vinegar in it if you want, but that's really good to clean with, to make sure that you're getting anything that could be brought in the house, especially from school. You can put thieves oil in your tea. So if you like, peppermint tea is a good one for immune system. And then if you do a couple drops of thieves in with peppermint tea, that's a really great combination, and it can help relieve anything that may be happening acutely. We talked about things like soaps. So over in our retail area, we have a couple of good hand soaps that aren't antibacterial, but are going to help get rid of anything that's not wanted, because that's important to have, especially this time of year when you're having people over at your house or you're doing things. You want to have that good soap on hand. We talked about the Thieves hand sanitizer, which is going to be a way better option. I love having that in my purse because it's a much better option than Purell. Then we have something called herbal throat spray. So herbal throat spray is going to be something that will help relieve a itchy throat, a sore throat, things like that. You just spray it in your mouth as needed throughout the day to get the good herbs from that, so that throat can calm down. Things like elderberry are a good thing to do during this time of year too. So elderberry it fights against immune challenges, high vitamin C content in that, antioxidants, so it's going to be really good for fighting things. And then, as some of you know, we put together elderberry packs during this time of year. So we put together a make your own elderberry syrup type of thing. So it's elderberry, some clove, cinnamon, ginger, and you mix it up and make a syrup, and then you can put that like in tea or just drink it straight, and that's really helpful to the immune system. And then it comes with a Thieves roll-on, so you can get the roll-on, so you can kind of roll it on your wrists, take care of that. And then also what we call Conjuplex, which is like an immune multivitamin, so it's going to come in and help combat anything. It has good vitamin C in it, it has good nutrition that's going to help the immune system do its job. Then we have things like, obviously, some good vegetables, which I know as it gets colder out is a little bit harder to eat veggies. But it's important to keep these in our diet. So leafy greens are going to be great for fighting immune challenges off, especially with the fiber with them. If anything's going on in the gut, the fiber is going to help it run its course and get it out through the bowels. We have things like good fats. So we all know fat's important, and especially healthy fat. So when I say healthy fat, I mean things like grass-fed butter, my favorite, then coconut oil. This is horrible. I'm glad I'm not a teacher. And then olive oil, eggs, fat in our meat. So we want to get good fat from our meat, but that includes good meat that's grass-fed, because what's happening when they eat the grass is the omega-3s and 6s are actually going to be much richer and from a much better source when they're grass-fed. And then we want things like good protein. So again, we want good meat, fish, Fish is good. During the winter, you know, put a roast in the crock pot that has really good fat on it. Throw some carrots, onions, you know, a little bit of potatoes in there. That's a really good option because during the winter, fat and protein is important because coming from an area that's colder, our ancestors before us, I mean, they weren't out picking berries when there's a foot of snow, so they ate a lot of animals and fat and protein. So that's kind of what we should be doing during the winter months with some veggies on top of that. A good thing to do too is some fermented foods. So to keep that good bacteria, that good healthy biome, we want some fermented foods. Goodness. Okay, so that includes things like apple cider vinegar, sauerkraut. Oh no. Things like pickles. So when you're getting those things though, so sauerkraut you want to get from the cold section. Pickles you want to get from the cold section. If you're getting them in the middle of the aisles, they've been heated and the good bugs are dead. So you want to make sure they're from the cold section of the store because that means the good bugs are still in there hanging out. And then also things like probiotics are a good thing to have. And in specific, if you're on a program, we can actually test to see what probiotic is best for you because there are hundreds out there. If you've ever been to the probiotic section like at a Whole Foods, or we carry a lot of probiotics, you know that there's a lot of options, so you really don't know what one's best for you until you get tested. Another thing we carry in the office that I really love that's immune boosting is our mushroom coffee. So our mushroom coffee contains it doesn't taste like mushrooms, I promise. You gotta get a sample,
it's
okay?
The coffee problem.
Oh, coffee. There's tea too. We have tea. There's mushroom tea. So the mushrooms are Ganoderma and they're immune boosting in nature. And then we actually have a coffee called King Coffee. It's the same brand, and that contains the spores of the Ganoderma in it. So it's going to be even more so immune boosting than just the black, which is another option. But that's a really good one that I love. It's one of my favorites. Ever since everybody around here started drinking it, it's been a really good success, especially immune challenge wise. Another one for the cold months is some bone broth. So bone broth is really good because it contains a lot of minerals. So our guts need good minerals to function right, and then therefore your immune system is going to function right too. So when we're feeding ourselves good minerals from the bone broth, we're also getting the gelatin, which is the fat from the bone broth, which we want. So if you go out and buy a bone broth, a lot of times the fat is actually taken out. You don't want that. You want the fat left in, and you want to make sure that if you buy it from the store, at the top there's that thick hard layer of the gelatin that got solid from just being from sitting out. If you make it at home, that's even better. You can buy your own bones, preferably grass-fed bones. Throw them in the crock pot. It's really, really easy. You fill it up with water, put some veggies in there, and let it marinate for, I think, like about 24 hours. And you can actually keep that pot out for like a week, and when you keep taking water or the broth out, you just replace it with more water, and it keeps going on and on for about a week until it loses flavor. Then you can kind of start over from scratch. Another thing you can do with the bone broth that's nice is with the extra, you can take it and put it in like an ice cube tray, and then you can pop it in the freezer, and when you want to fry up some meat or some veggies, you can put it in the frying pan, and that will give your veggies or your meat really nice flavor, and it also gives it that good mineral content from there. All right, and then like I talked about, just be prepared for the holidays. We all know they're coming. We all know what to expect. There's family gatherings, lots of treats and things. So what I like to do is, my whole family knows I'm a health nut, so they expect it, but I bring my own thing, and everybody loves it just as much as the other stuff. So I promise it's delicious. Just try to educate them. Don't make them feel like they're crazy. Just be like, trust me, try it, you'll feel great. But that's another really good option to just prepare yourself for what's coming up. All right, I think that is what I have today. Our next couple events that we have coming up, so we have on September 11th, we're actually going to be having a wellness night. So True Fitness from over here in Ann Arbor is going to be coming in and doing some demoing. They're a fitness-based facility that helps with movement and helps people that are in pain and have aches. And it's not anything that's intense. It's all about being able to align your body properly and not have any aches and pains while moving. It's not intense exercise at all, so it's for anybody, beginner to advanced, would benefit. And then on our next lecture we have coming up is on the 16th, and it's about understanding food labels. So if you want more information about how to read a food label, that's a really great one to come to, and that will be on September 16th at 7:15. And the one on the 11th is at 7 o'clock. All right. Thanks, Facebook. We'll see you next time.